Hello, welcome to the Stephanie Herman Show. Today we have a magnificent woman who has just become the CEO of Domaine Carneros, Remi Cohen, who we're going to interview. Remi, it's so great to meet you, and I'm so curious about you and Domaine Carneros and your new position.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're welcome. You are very young to be a CEO.
Well, that's nice. I don't think I'm that young.
Oh, well, it's relative.
It is all relative.
So I'd like to toast with your
Yes.
famous sparkling. Tell me about this.
Cheers. Yes. This is an homage, our Brut Rosé from Domaine Carneros. It's an homage to Madame de Pompadour, a woman who was involved in popularizing champagne with the French court in the time of Louis XV. Yeah, she was one of his courtesans. She's also known as a patron of arts and philanthropy, so it really fits in well with our conversation today.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. So thank you for helping to sponsor your sparkling wines and wines for the Wild Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious, what made you want to do that?
Well, I first learned about Wild Aid from one of our valued members at Domaine Carneros, Donna Howe. And it was really exciting to learn about it from her and also learn that the philosophies of Wild Aid are very much in line with the philosophies of Domaine Carneros in terms of sustainability and conservation efforts.
So tell me a little bit more about the sustainability of the Domaine Carneros. How many years have they been doing that?
I would say since the inception. So my predecessor, an icon in the industry by the name of Eileen Crane, she was long dedicated into the sustainability efforts of the winery. And so we have multiple certifications: Napa Green, Fish Friendly Farming, California Sustainable Certified. And as an example of our commitment to renewable energy, in 2003, we installed what was the largest solar array of any winery in the world at the time. And now we are building that into a microgrid. So we're expanding upon the solar and the renewable energy, and it will be coordinated with a battery that will store our own energy, and we can reuse it in the case of a power outage or in peak demand when the sun is not shining. So it's really exciting to build upon the commitment in terms of the modern day renewable energy technology.
How many acres of land does Domaine Carneros have for their vineyards?
Yeah, so we're really excited because in 2020, Domaine Carneros became 100% estate grown. And we have 6 different properties all throughout the Carneros region, which is the southern end of both Napa and Sonoma.
And with these wildfires, how are you protected?
Yes, so as we all know, that's been a really big concern. Fortunately, where Domaine Carneros is located, we are in the cooler part of Napa and Sonoma counties. We are not surrounded by forests, so we have a little bit less risk than some of our neighbors. However, we do take it seriously. One of our sustainability efforts is to plant cover crops, but we have to make sure that they're mowed during the fire season. And actually, we've learned that a well-manicured vineyard is actually serving as a fire break and has actually helped spread, contain the spread of fires in the Napa and Sonoma regions during these intense wildfire seasons.
Cool.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
How long are you new CEO?
I started in the first day of harvest of August 2020. So I got literally thrown into the fire. So August 3rd, 2020 was the first day of harvest, and that was the first day of my new job. And then it was a couple weeks later. Thankfully, we had already finished the sparkling harvest when the first round of fires that year occurred.
And through COVID and everything?
Yes, it was interesting to start a new job in the middle of a pandemic, but the team there is really amazing, and we've done everything we can to keep ourselves, our employees, and our guests safe throughout this whole time.
And it's interesting, you are a woman in a field that is probably mostly men. Don't you feel great that you were picked? I'm sure you were picked for all your wonderful experiences and knowledge.
Well, it's really nice that Domaine Carneros and the Tattinger family, who owns Domaine Carneros, they're the family behind Champagne Tattinger, that they have had a long time dedication to having women in leadership positions. And if you think about it, Eileen was really the pioneer to become the CEO in 1987 of a winery owned by a champagne house in France. There weren't many women winemakers at the time, and certainly not as many that had sparkling wine experience the way Eileen did, and a love of champagne. And so she was the perfect candidate. And for me, I didn't really realize throughout my career that this is still a conversation that we need to have, that when I was in school, there was a pretty even amount of men and women in the viticulture and enology classes. But as you move up into more senior positions in the winery and the wine industry, there's still a big disparity in terms of the quantity of women in leadership positions.
Why do you think that is?
You know, I think it's a lot of different reasons, but what's exciting to see is all of the efforts, even in just the last few years, that have been taken to perpetuate this conversation, to bring more visibility to this disparity, and to encourage more women into leadership positions in the industry.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so it's good. I think we have a lot to look forward to in terms of bringing more diversity, bringing more female leadership into the industry. And for me, maybe I was a little naive earlier in my career, but it's interesting at this point in my career to see that it's a conversation that still needs to be had, and a lot more work to be done, when I had felt like my predecessors and the generation before me had done a lot of the hard work, and they did. But unfortunately, there's still more conversation that needs to be had and more work to be done.
I hear you're going to be responsible for helping out with fellowships and scholarships.
Yes. So we've put in a few new initiatives in the last year and a half. One is that we recreated the Le Rêve Foundation Scholarship. So Le Rêve means dream, and it's the name of our Tête de Cuvée, our top prestige wine that we make, sparkling wine. But it means the dream, and it's an homage to Claude Tattinger from the Tattingers family's dream of having a California sparkling wine house.
Aww.
And now we want to pass on and help other people fulfill their dreams. So we created a scholarship program called the Le Rêve Scholarship with both UC Davis, which has a great viticulture and enology program that I went to, and the Culinary Institute of America in Napa, who has a wine master's program that we're supporting. Women or people who are supporting women or diversity or sustainability within the industry will be awarded the scholarship.
Let's drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. That is so lovely.
Delicious.
So you're very happy that you're being able to give back now.
It's really nice to be at a point in my career where I can give back to the community and help more women and people of color to advance in their careers. In fact, we recently launched a scholarship in mentorship in partnership with Batonage, which is an organization dedicated to helping people who identify as women advance in their careers within the wine industry. And we just received the top candidates from the Batonage organization, and we're so impressed by the quality of the candidates and really excited about this program for next year.
Your job sounds very fulfilling.
It is. I have really, especially since joining DomaineCarneros, really dived in on the human resources and the people component. I've spent so much of my time on the viticultural side of the business, the winemaking side, the sales and marketing, and now it's really exciting and rewarding to dive into the people component.
It's very sweet, very sweet. Your sparkling wines have such character. Can you explain a little bit why?
Yes, well, thank you for noticing. It's something that we take a lot of care with at DomaineCarneros. We're owned by Champagne Tattinger, and so we use a lot of the champagne methods in terms of making our wine, which includes what we call méthode traditionnelle, which is the practice of doing the secondary fermentation that creates all those fun bubbles that we love in the bottle, in each individual bottle, and it creates a lot of complexity and nuance to the wines. So in addition to the beautiful fruit that you get, maybe a little bit of peach, a little bit of berry, kind of like raspberry and strawberry, we also get a nice creaminess and complexity and a lot of floral notes from the process of the fermentation.
So I think it'd be great if you tell the viewers the difference between sparkling wine and champagne.
Oh, yes. So champagne is only made in the Champagne region. So any sparkling wine that's made anywhere else in the world has to be called sparkling wine, or in the case of Spain, often called cava, or in Italy called prosecco. But here in California and throughout the US, we call it sparkling wine.
But the way you make it is similar?
Yes, so we use, not for everybody, but at Domaine Carneros, we use the méthode traditionnelle, which is often known as méthode champenoise, which is the technique of doing the secondary fermentation, the fermentation that creates all the fun bubbles in each individual bottle. And that's how you get that really amazing complexity, that creamy, yeastiness, sort of brioche type characteristics that come with champagne or with traditional sparkling wine made using méthode traditionnelle.
Well, I'm a champagne snob, and this is really good.
Yes, I think thanks to our ownership by Champagne Taittinger, we really truly follow not only the champagne methods in terms of making the wine, but champagne labeling laws. So all of our sparkling wines that are vintage dated age on that secondary fermentation, on the what we call the lees, or the dead yeast, which gives it all that complexity, for at least 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So each bottle comes with the age on it. This is 2017.
2017, yes. And I also brought a 2016 Ultra, which is what we call our low dosage, a little bit of a drier style, and our late disgorged Brut, which is our 2015, which hopefully we can have a toast with after the interview.
Sounds great. So you have the vineyards, and each different vineyard has grapes that have different flavors depending on the sun and the environment. So the characters that come out in each of these sparkling wines has to do with that. And would you say that this one has more peachiness to it, or what makes them, the flavors, so different?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You'll have to come someday and blend with us and taste with a base blend. So we just finished blending all the 2021 base blends. So basically we make each vineyard block gets harvested and made into its own individual wine, and we call those all the different base lots. And then depending on which wine that we are blending, we will choose different lots that have the characteristics that we want to create some consistency in terms of. In this case, we're drinking a Brut Rosé, and that tends to be one of our brighter, more floral and more fruity wines that we choose. And we are looking for stone fruit like apricot and peach, and also berry aromas when we're making this blend.
How do you do that?
Well, we smell and taste them every single morning for about 3 months.
Well, considering this is morning, let's toast to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's great. Anyway, thank you so much for coming.
Yes, it's
just
been a pleasure.
It's a joy meeting you, and
Likewise.
Domaine Carneros is very happy to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, they should be happy.
I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.